Hello, my name is Luke Kenzie, and this is my very first audiobook. So thank you to whoever is listening, and I hope you enjoy. The Beast in the Woods. John picked up his glass of whiskey and gulped down the last bit, watching the snow fall outside like a haze of white coming from the sky. He grabbed the shotgun next to him and put 3 shells in it. Then he put his buck knife in his holster and got his jacket on. "I'm coming for you," he whispered under his breath. 5 years before, on a cold winter night like this, John's son was playing in the pasture and asked if he could go in the woods. He, of course, said yes, loving to see his son Matthew explore. From the inside window, he peeked over at Matthew whenever he could, while making dinner at the same time. Well, then, the next time he looked over, he saw his son just standing there and staring into the woods. John put the knife that he was using down and went outside to get a better look at what was going on. He saw his son and something else emerging from the woods. It was hard for John to see what it was through all the snow falling down. John thought it was a wolf and didn't want Matthew to get hurt, so he grabbed the axe they used for firewood and started to walk out there. As John got closer, the figure only got bigger. Soon John realized whatever Matthew was looking at wasn't a wolf. Actually, John wasn't sure what he was looking at. Soon, he was able to see antlers in a deer skull. At that point, even John was terrified. He then got to a point where John could make out the entire creature and almost screamed in terror. The creature wasn't anything he had ever seen on that farm. In fact, John hasn't seen it anywhere. The creature had a tall, bony body with the skull and antlers of a deer. And for some odd reason, John recognized it from a story his dad told him. John didn't care at that time. He only cared about getting Matthew out of there. John started to run towards Matthew when all of a sudden the creature let out a horrific screech. John ran to grab Matthew, but the creature got there first. It picked up Matthew, and he started to scream for John, yelling over and over again, "Dad! Dad, please help me!" John swung the axe, hitting the creature right in the back. It let out another screech and swatted John away. Then the creature grabbed Matthew and ran into the woods, the whole time Matthew yelling for his dad. John ran in after him but couldn't find him. John ran and ran aimlessly, but Matthew's screams finally faded into the woods. It was getting dark, and soon John wasn't able to see any more than 3 feet in front of him. John ran back to the house and called the cops. Once they arrived, they looked in the woods for hours and found nothing. To this day, John has sought revenge on the beast, and today was that day. Without a second to spare, John grabbed his shotgun and set out past the pastures and into the woods. John started his walk into the woods. To be honest, it was peaceful. The birds chirping and the sound of crunching snow under his feet. But he knew it was in those woods. He knew that the creature that he later did research on was a Wendigo, a creature that feasts on human flesh and has a tall, twisted, bony body with the skull and antlers of a deer. It was an urban legend John's father told him when he was a kid. Who knew the myth was real? While walking, John continuously thought back to that dreadful day he lost his boy. The case went cold, and people suspected it was John who killed his own boy. A few months after the incident, John's wife left him, and he was all alone. He was in his own head for most of that walk until he came to a clearing that took him out of his trance. But it wasn't the clearing itself that took him out of the trance. It was the dead deer carcass in the middle of it. He walked up to it and got onto one knee to get a closer look. He almost couldn't tell that it was a deer he was looking at other than the antlers that very obviously gave it away. The body reeked and still had the fresh smell of death. But then, out of nowhere, he heard that familiar screech, that awful, cold-hearted screech that took his son away from him. John quickly turned around to see the tall, bony figure with its teeth and claws all bloody. It let out one more scream of pure terror, and then John aimed his shotgun at it and took the first shot. The beast let out a roar and came after John with its razor-sharp claws. John raised the gun for a second shot, but the creature swatted it out of its hand, with the Wendigo pinning him to the cold winter ground. John felt his last breaths slipping away. But then, he remembered the buck knife on his belt. He took it out of the holster and stabbed the beast right in the neck. It screamed once more, and John grabbed his shotgun and ran into the woods. As John was aimlessly running through the woods, he stopped when he heard the voice he hadn't heard in 5 years. Matthew's. He turned around and looked all over, but couldn't find him. John called out for him. "Matthew, where are you?" John started to cry and then heard him again. Matthew said, "It's okay, Dad. You didn't do it. It's not your fault. Now let me go." John cried a bit more and then got up to find the one to go. Once he found him again in the clearing, John took another shot, which wounded the beast even more. He walked up to it and said, "You took everything I love from me," and took a final shot, killing the beast. When John found his way back home, he went inside, made himself a cup of coffee with Irish cream, and sat in his rocking chair by the fireplace, knowing that his business was finished and Matthew could be at peace. Well, everyone, that is my audiobook, The Beast in the Woods, written by me, of course. I hope you all enjoyed, and yeah, hopefully there will be more in the future. See ya.